The Pacific wind howled like a memory, rushing past the steel hull of the USS Resolute as if the ocean itself remembered wars long over. The battleship stood motionless in dry dock, towering above the scaffolding like a monument to power. Welders worked. Officers shouted. Sparks flew from grinders. But all eyes kept drifting, just for a second, toward the tiniest figure among them. She was 8, maybe 9, grease on her cheeks, sleeves rolled above tiny wrists, boots slightly too big. The name stitched across her navy blue jumper read, Raines, ****. She moved differently than the others. Not with hurry, not with fear, but with the calm confidence of someone who knew the ship's breath, its pulse, its ancient soul. Ava Raines was not supposed to be there. At least, not according to Admiral Croft. From the scaffolding above, Croft watched her with a frown etched deep into his face. He stood with arms folded, his crisp white uniform pressed perfection, his silver stars gleaming in the morning light. "She thinks she's a mechanic now," he scoffed at Chief Mendez, who stood beside him. Mendez didn't reply. He watched the girl tighten a bolt on the vibration housing of the primary turbine. Croft chuckled, voice dry and sharp. "Let her play. It's cute. A child pretending her toys matter on a real ship." "She silenced that turbine last night," Mendez said quietly. "On her own. No manuals. Just feel." Croft looked down again. "You're telling me an orphan kid, raised in hangars, has better instincts than my engineers?" Mendez said nothing. He didn't need to. They both knew what she'd done. Below, Ava stood perfectly still, hand resting against the turbine casing. Her eyes were closed. The engine hummed, just slightly off. She turned a knob a quarter turn, listened, then again. The hum leveled out. She whispered, almost like a prayer. Too much resonance on the third harmonic. "I hear it." Croft rolled his eyes. "She talks to it?" "She listens." Mendez corrected. "She hears things most don't." Croft scoffed again. "What she hears is her dead father in her head." A muscle twitched in Mendez's jaw. He didn't like Croft, but he'd been silent too long. "Her father died on a ship this Navy built, trying to fix what someone else broke. And we buried it. We buried him. All she wants is to finish what he started." Ava wiped her hands on her coveralls. She walked right past the Admiral, not looking up, her expression calm, unreadable. Hanging from her neck, his dog tags clinked gently against her chest. **** Captain Elijah Raines, ****, engraved deep and weathered by time. Croft's lip curled. "Wearing his name doesn't make her him." "She's not him," Mendez murmured. "She might be something more." Down below, Ava reached the main access panel and climbed inside. The humming changed again, sharper, steadier. For the first time in weeks, the engine purred like it trusted the hands touching it. And somewhere deep inside that ship of steel and ghosts, a warhorse breathed again. The storm simulation hit harder than expected. Sirens screamed to the steel corridors of the USS Resolute as flashing red lights painted everything in chaos. The floor vibrated under Ava's feet, the ship groaning like it was alive and angry. Crew members barked over each other, confused by the sudden system's failure. Control panels flickered. A fuse popped. Then darkness. Ava didn't move. She stood in the control room's corner, silent as the power collapsed. The emergency backup should have kicked in. It didn't. In the panic, no one noticed her until she slid open the emergency panel and dropped to her knees. "What the hell is she doing?" a junior officer shouted. "Get her out of there," someone else yelled. "No," Chief Mendez said firmly, stepping between them and the girl. "Let her work." She moved fast, her small hands reaching deep into the circuitry with precision. She didn't hesitate, didn't pause to second guess. The wires told her what was wrong. The power relay was misaligned by a fraction, just like before, just like the night her father died. She could still see it, the blinding flash, the silence afterward, his face, blood running down his temple, whispering as he handed her the schematic. Asterisk, "Don't be afraid of the dark, Ava. Fix the light." Asterisk. She clamped the line, twisted the conduit, then triggered the reset. A single spark shot across the board, and the lights came roaring back. Power surged. Consoles lit up. The ship breathed again. Gasps echoed through the room. People turned, stunned. She just brought her back online," someone muttered. Ava stood slowly, her face pale but calm, the tips of her fingers singed. She didn't gloat, didn't smile, just stepped aside like the moment belonged to someone else. Then Admiral Croft entered. His gaze swept the room. Lights stabilizing, systems functional, Ava alone at the center of it. He looked at her like she was a puzzle missing too many pieces. "What happened?" he barked. "System crashed during the load test." Mendez answered. "She fixed it before anyone could run diagnostics." Croft approached Ava slowly, inspecting her like an artifact. "You don't belong in my control room." Ava met his eyes for the first time. There was no fear in hers. "I didn't come here to belong." Croft sneered. "Then why are you here?" "To make sure no one else dies because you ignored the warnings," she said. A silence fell. Hard. Heavy. Croft's jaw clenched. "You think wearing your father's dog tags give you authority?" Ava lifted them, stared for a moment, then let them fall against her chest. "No. Fixing what he couldn't does." He turned to Mendez, voice low. "Get her out of my sight." Mendez stepped between them again. "You can throw her off the ship, Admiral, but you won't undo what she just did." Croft stared for a beat longer, then walked out. Ava looked down at her fingertips, burned, trembling slightly. She flexed them once. The engine was talking again, and this time it had listened back. The plaque sat untouched on the Admiral's desk, buried beneath stacks of classified reports and worn leather folders. It was old, the name etched in brass. Captain Ava Raines, integrity through silence. Admiral Croft stared at it like it might come to life and accuse him. He didn't notice Mendez until a man dropped a folder squarely in front of him. "She didn't just fix the engines," Mendez said flatly. "She corrected a flaw you swore didn't exist." Croft opened a file reluctantly. Inside, schematics, black box data, Ava's personal notes, handwritten, annotated, precise. On top was a stamped tribunal letter, official Navy crest, dated 5 years prior. She was 3 when the Navy made this decision. Mendez said, voice low, when her father died, exposing that fault. They didn't make it public, just gave the daughter his rank, honorary, buried in a footnote. No ceremony, no apology, just silence. Croft flipped the page. There it was, honorary captain rank, Ava Raines. He sat back, stunned for once. That's not a real commission. It's more than most men earn with a rifle and a lie. Croft slammed the file shut. She's a child. She's the only one on this base who understands that engine better than its creator. Croft stood sharply, but Mendez didn't flinch. Their standoff was years in the making. "She doesn't belong here," Croft hissed. "She does now," Mendez answered. "You just don't like who sent her." That night, thunder cracked outside the hangar as Ava stood alone beside the humming beast she revived. Her hands were wrapped in gauze, but she wasn't touching anything, just listening. Footsteps echoed across the steel floor. Croft approached, flanked by 2 junior officers. His uniform immaculate, eyes sharp with conflict. "I asked around," he said coldly. "Turns out your father saved 25 lives the night he died." Ava didn't speak. Croft stepped closer. "You think that earns you a seat on this ship? You think rank is inherited?" "No," Ava said, her voice even. "I think trust is. Or it should be." He stared at her, unsure whether to be impressed or angry. "The dog tags," he said. "Why wear them if you're not trying to be him?" "I wore them because I was scared I'd forget his voice," she said, looking up at him. But the ship remembered. It spoke in the same rhythm. It's not about being him. It's about finishing what he started. Croft looked away, jaw tight. She stepped forward. "You can call me a child. You can strip the title. But I've already earned something more than a nameplate. The crew trusts me." He didn't answer. Instead, he turned and walked away. But at the threshold, he stopped. "I've got a live storm sim scheduled tomorrow. Let's see if your ears are sharper than radar." Then he was gone. Ava turned back to the engine, the faintest smile touching her lips. Tomorrow, the ocean would scream, and she'd be ready to listen. The storm came without mercy. Waves like city walls rose and crashed against the steel hull of the Resolute, its engines groaning under simulated pressure, its decks trembling beneath the weight of the test. Inside the bridge, alarm screamed. Wind howled through the vents. Digital displays blinked with errors the crew couldn't solve fast enough. Panic threaded through every movement, except hers. Ava stood dead center, her small frame dwarfed by the control consoles and towering officers around her. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't frozen. She simply watched, listened. The ship was speaking again, in groans, shudders, and patterns only she had learned to trust. "Stabilizers are failing," someone shouted. "We're drifting off SimPath. Port thrusters not responding." Croft stood rigid, hands on the railing, gaze locked on the chaos unfolding. Then he looked at her. "You said you could hear it," he said, voice tight. "Well," Ava stepped forward. "She's overcorrecting. You're pushing against her rhythm. Let me drive." One of the officers scoffed. "She's a child. You're not seriously." "Let her drive," Croft barked, silencing the room. Mendez handed her the control headset. Without a word, Ava slipped it on. Hands calm as the storm outside roared louder. Throttle to 62%. Starboard pulse delay, 2 milliseconds. Drop internal resistance by 3 ticks. Trust the pitch. It's not broken, it's scared. The officers hesitated, then obeyed. The Resolute groaned again, but this time steadied. The vibrations eased. Thrusters pulse and sync, correcting the drift. The storm sim intensified, but the ship moved with grace, not fear. It rode the chaos like it belonged there. Silence fell across the bridge. No more shouting. Just the steady hum of a ship, remembering how to breathe. Croft approached her slowly, his boots echoing across the metal floor. "You've done more than prove yourself," he said quietly. Ava didn't answer. She was staring at the horizon screen, where the simulation storm still churned, but no longer threatened. Croft placed something beside her, his own silver insignia, gleaming under the panel lights. "My first ship was lost during a test like this. We didn't listen to the warning signs. You did. You saved her." Ava looked at the insignia, then down at her father's dog tags, still hanging from her neck. "I wore these to remember him," she said softly. "But today, I didn't hear his voice. I heard mine." She took the tags off. Then, from her pocket, she pulled a new set, freshly stamped. Captain Ava Raines. She put them on slowly with reverence, but also with certainty. Not borrowed, not gifted, earned. Croft straightened. "The Resolute has her captain." Behind them, the crew stood, silent and watching. Then, one by one, they saluted. No one told them to. They simply knew. Ava returned the gesture, hand shaking slightly, but held firm. The storm faded from the screen. She didn't smile, but her eyes said everything. The ship had listened, and for the first time, the world had listened back.